It is MMA Weekly Radio. I am Damon Martin, and we are joined today by the legend himself, UFC Hall of Famer, and now manager, Tito Ortiz. Tito, welcome back. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Without a doubt, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Tito, obviously, we got a lot to talk about today, but I want to start first with the news that was announced just a couple weeks ago that you are actually switching hats a little bit. You're going from fighting into the management fray. Can you tell us about that project you got?
Well, I sat back and I go, what would be the best thing that I know so much about? Through my whole career, I made mistakes. I made the positive and negative things to get me where I am today. So I want to do the same thing, like going out and finding the next generation fighters to really take this manager stuff by storm, man. I really want to battle for fighters, what they believe in and what I believe in. And I think that's what it really comes down to.
You were one of the first fighters to really take that step. You managed yourself pretty much your entire career in terms of contract negotiations, in terms of sponsorships, in terms of starting your own clothing and nutrition brands with Punishment Athletics. Do you feel like that experience alone makes you qualified, but do you feel like that's really going to be something you can impart in the next generation of fighters that you manage?
100%. I want to break the mold on fighters. Fighters know the guys get in the cage and fight. That's pretty much it. I want to break the mold. I want to get guys that are going to be that, but they're going to be much more than just that. They're going to do all the hard, diligent work to become superstars. And I think that's really cool. It comes down to work, where I'm showing these guys the right things to do to make themselves a brand. And then, that's what it's really about, and fight for the fighters. And that's what I've been doing for so long for myself. And make it in the right decisions, and not decisions on pure emotions. I think that's what really comes down to, where it's a business decision. I could show the layout of what the fighters are going to offer, and that's what it comes down to.
How much of your experience in negotiating, comes into play with something like this, Tito? Because negotiating is a big part of sponsorship packages. It's a big part of contracts. It's a big part of getting the right fights. You've gone through everything from the very beginning of your career all the way to the end. And like I said, you managed yourself and made those deals along the way. I mean, to me, that's got to be one of the most valuable parts of this, because your negotiating power, to me, day one gives you a lot more know-how than, and it's not an insult to the managers that are out there, but I'm just saying day one, it gives you a lot more experience, right?
Oh, 100%. I was in the trenches, and I'm willing to jump back in the trenches for the guys, for the fighters who are putting their lives on the lines, and that's what it's really about. But at the same time, the promoter got to know what they're getting out of the fighters. When it comes down to interviews, it comes down to doing interviews, showing up, and promoting as much as possible, because that's the opportunity that fighters need to take advantage of. I look at so many former champions that have never done that. They had problems even showing up to do a press conference. That should not be done. That should be a manager's job to make sure these guys are confident enough to go in and do that. Grab your guy and go take him to a speech class for an 8-week session, so they could feel comfortable in front of a mic, feel comfortable in front of thousands of people or millions of people that are listening, so they're articulate enough to speak well for themselves. And I think I was able to do that for me by going to college and getting educated, and not really realizing that it was going to come back on my fight career hand over fist, and I was very lucky for that. So I've been in the trenches, as I say. I've battled to get where I've done for my brand. So let's just, not really reinvent the wheel, just make it better.
And I know that thus far, we saw the release. Thus far, I know you have already signed Rob Emerson, who is out training at the Punishment Training Center, and also Cris Cyborg, obviously former Strikeforce champion. How quickly do you want to extend and continue to grow your roster of fighters?
Well, there's always been, there's already been guys who have contacted me, other women fighters, other guy fighters, and I just got to pick them because they're just going to be calling over each other trying to get to me. And they're just picking the right guys to make the right decisions, not only in the cage, but outside the cage, too, because that's what it's really going to be truly about, is building guys and, making the next Tito Ortiz, the next Chuck Liddell, the next Randy Couture's. And, I think working with the promoter to not work against them, but work with them to make brands of these guys' names. And I'm really looking for the next generation of fighters, not the guys now, but the guys in the future. And I'm working with actually Roy Engelbrick for an amateur show, and that's where I want to start my foundation, is the young guys, man. The guys that are in there fighting for free. I mean, that was me. My amateur fight was in UFC 13. I fought as an amateur, and I fought for free. Giving these guys the same idea of just hard work and dedication to build their brand, to make their names bigger than life, so when they do fight, people pay attention, and that's what it's truly about.
So working with the amateur show, and obviously from what you're saying now, while you will have a couple people on the roster obviously we're familiar with, this is really about building the brand kind of the way you built your brand.
Exactly. And like I say, is working with the promoters on the right way. During my career, I made some bad decisions, of course. I read Dana the wrong way, and I want to fix that. I want to make a difference. And of course, but fighting for the fighters is what it's about. And when you're able to give big companies, big fighters, where they're known, across the United States, and I'm going to help promote them. I'm going to help go out and make these guys big names. That's when they sell tickets. That's when they sell pay-per-view. But at the same time, it's when they fight well. And I'm gonna have to make sure that that's going to have to happen.
Yeah, definitely. So the new management company, Primetime 360, it's already underway. Is that taking the biggest part of your focus right now as far as what you're doing with your time?
Pretty much, yes. I mean, when I say 360, this is strictly not just fighting. I mean, I'm going to go out and do my diligent work of looking for spots for them for after fighting, for a career after fighting's over for them, because the lifespan of a fighter is maybe 10 years, and after that 10 years, what are you going to do? And I really want to sit down, with my business management and lay out their whole next 20 years, so they're able to retire as a fighter and able to go on to something bigger and better, because MMA fighters are the most serious competitors and athletes to be taken serious, man. There's no other athletes like us, and I think it's time to really take athletes serious and getting a fighter and kind of building them to do something after it is what it's really about.
Yeah, and it seems like obviously you've already laid the ground floor with the fighters you've signed and the fighters you will be signing. So can we expect very big things from the Tito Ortiz management company over the next, let's say, 6 to 8 months? Are we expecting?
100%. Before the year is over, there was some really big things, and I really just want to lay the foundation right now of talent fighters that I'm going to step over the level of making sure that their future is taken care of. And that's what it's about. But they're going to have to do the work, too. This is something that all of a sudden I'm going to sign with Tito and I'm going to become a superstar. No, that will not happen. You sign with Tito Ortiz and I'm going to give you the opportunity to become something that you want to become. You got to go out and you got to do the work, but I'm just going to plug in the switches and make sure you can do the work to make it happen. And that's what it's truly about.
Now, Tito, I got to ask you, because one of the fighters on your roster, now that you are a manager, this is part of your job, is I know in the original press release for the organization, you talked about working with Cris Cyborg, and we know Cris is working diligently to come back after her suspension is up this year. What can we expect? I mean, again, you mentioned the building young stars, but you do have a very major star already on your roster. What can we expect from Cris Cyborg in the next year?
Well, Cris Cyborg, I've worked at her a bunch of times, and I know the mishap she happened to happen last year, and she was just in the wrong hands, I think. And she stood up for herself. She said, yes, I made a mistake, and I sat down and I talked to her. I said, Cris, we can't have this happen ever again. I kind of want to revamp you and make you the true champion that you are when you defend your title many times you did. She goes, yes, I made a mistake. People around me were bad people, but I'm the one who made the decision, and I shouldn't have done that, and I'll never do it again. I go, well, I'll put my stamp on you. You're a great fighter. You're one of the best in the world. No girl can touch this girl. This girl is amazing. She's an amazing fighter. We actually got her in English classes right now, so like I say, I'm trying to help to build her brand. And she promised me that she's going to do everything in her power to work as diligent as she possibly can to continue on as being a world champion. And so we're just waiting for her suspension to be lifted, and I believe it's in November. So it's just an opportunity of time until it happens. And man, let me tell you, Cris Cyborg, there's nothing like this girl. I mean, people they say you're only as good as your last fight, and hey, fans are very flip-flop all the time, and it's understandable. But the next fight, when she wins and stops the person, then we'll see. And the next fight after that, I want her to defend her title as many times as Anderson Silva did in the women's division, because the women's division has taken off, and you see how much serious the women's division has been taken since UFC has taken a part of it and Dana has supported it.
So the $1 million question, Tito, I got to ask you, now that you are a manager, I know there's a lot of moving parts of this actually happening, but the fans all want to know, how much interest do you have on the side of management with Cris on putting together that super fight with Ronda Rousey?
100% of it, and it is going to happen for sure. The fans are going to get that fight. At 135, no way. Can't do it health-wise, but the fight is going to happen for sure.
And that's the in my opinion, the biggest women's fight ever. Right now, it happens tomorrow. It's the biggest fight ever.
Yes, for sure. And when Cris Cyborg dominates and takes out Ronda Rousey, then Cris will be right back in the shoes of where she was when she was a world champion and taken very seriously and dominating over some of the names of the women's division.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned also Rob Emerson, who you're working with, who a lot of people know, of course, from The Ultimate Fighter. He's actually dropping down to featherweight, and he's going to be doing some big things the rest of this year as well, correct?
Yeah, he just started. He had his first fight and got a rear naked choke about a minute into the fight. He dominated really, really fast, and 145 pounds is his weight class. He said he feels great. When I signed him, he was hanging out with the wrong people, partying, just not really focused. And since he's been teaching at my school at Punishment Training Center, he's like, Tito, I found a new life, man. I found God. I'm really taking this serious now. I really want to take my career serious, and I think I could dominate at 145. And him at 145, he's vicious, man. His striking, his wrestling, his submissions. The kid's is a force to be reckoned with, but once again, it's just I need to build it. I need to make it happen, and he's doing the work, and he's doing the diligent work to make it happen also by getting in the gym, training with some of the great guys. I mean, I could barely pull the guy out of the gym right now just to do some of the extra stuff of the promotion stuff I want him to do. He's like, well, I got to train. It's like, okay, so we'll find the weekends to work to do the extra things, but at the same time, it's just finding a person like that who has the hard work in his mind of knowing what it is to be a champion, but having bad people around him. And I think bringing the right things to the guy, and he knows he can do it. And all of a sudden, when it's working and he feels confident doing it, wow, he's like, this does work. And it's just staying focused. I mean, through my career, I really stayed focused and not get sidetracked, with partying or just hanging out with friends. It's always been about fighting. I've always understood that what am I going to do when I'm 40 years old? What am I going to do when my career's done? And now it's been something now that I'm able to do with my management company. And I think Rob Emerson feels very focused on his career right now, and perhaps for a reason. So I'm really happy with the future of Rob Emerson.
Last question I'll ask you about management, Tito, and I just want to touch on a couple other topics if we could before I let you go. But I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to make this clear out there. We see a lot in management and MMA. It's about signing everybody possible. Get as many guys under the roster to kind of build a stable of fighters. The sense I'm getting from you, it's not about numbers. It's about getting the right people. Is that fair?
100%. I want to get the right guys. I want to get the guys and women who want to work hard, who want to make something of themselves besides just a day-to-day fighter, and who want to become superstars. And I think I know the right recipe and the right stuff to make that happen. And I say, I'm going to make it happen. It's not the fact that I'm going to try to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen with each and every person that I do sign and build, and like I say, make the next superstars. So, guys, pay attention, man. It's just a matter of time. I'll be quiet and diligent when I do it. But when it is done, I'll sit back and go, I'm doing the right work to make it happen. I'm not here to promise fighters anything. I'm just going to give them the opportunity. And I think that's what a management is truly supposed to do. Because through my career, I've had so many managers come to me like, oh, I'll get you this, I'll get you that, I'll get you this, I'll get you that, I'll get you this, I'll get you that. But when it comes down to it, they don't get me anything at all. And it's like I'm the one getting all the things. But I'm going to be the manager out there going there, doing the legwork, doing the diligent work, and being in the battle trenches for them and making it happen for them. And I think that's what it's really about.
Definitely. So this may sound like a funny question, Tito, because you're not slowing down. I know we talked before your last fight that you had all these plans and things coming up, and obviously the management career is taking the forefront right now. But it sounds like you're settled in retirement, but you're not really retired in terms of you're just not fighting, but you're not slowing down.
No, I'm not slowing down. No way. I have so much more stuff to do. And as I said, people, I'm not retiring. I'm just graduating. I'm graduating from fighting. And I think God put me on this earth to become something great, and fighting maybe become a great fighter. And now it's time to be the business acumen that I've always wanted to be. And it's just doing the diligent work and making it happen. Like I say, I'm not retired. I'm just graduating from fighting and going on something better. I got my master's in promotion and marketing through UFC, and I'm very thankful to Lorenzo Dana White for giving me the opportunity that I've had through my career. But now it's time to go to my second chapter of my life, and I'm willing to do it the right way. I made some mistakes with the UFC, with my career, just a couple of them, and I want to make sure I make those things right, and in time it will. And I think going out and looking for the next greatest fighters is my job, and to build them into the next superstar is my job, and I'm going to make that happen.
Are you looking forward to sitting across the negotiating table with Joe Silva and Dana White?
Yes, but at the same time, I'm going to give them guys who it's worth it to them, and maybe guys that I don't have to build to make that happen. But it's going to be, fair. I'm not going to do the same thing I did with my career, that's for sure, but I'm going to go out and I'm going to make sure that the fighters they get, it's worth it for their time.
One other question before I want to talk about punishment in a second, but I want to ask you real quick, Tito. You've always been very honest. There's never been a question I've asked you in an interview, and I've interviewed you for the past 8 years, that you've not answered for me. So I'm going to ask you one about something that happened recently, and I hope you don't mind answering for me, okay? Cool. This was something on Twitter. I think it was yesterday or the day before. You had sent a message to John Jones, very specifically to him. Can you explain to me at all what was behind that?
Well, okay, here, check it out. So the situation happened in UFC 151. He was supposed to fight Chael. Well, actually, he was supposed to fight Dan Emerson. He gets hurt a week before the fight. They say, you're going to fight Chael, and he said, no way, and then he got a bunch of flack from it. All of the fighters said that he wasn't a true fighter, and no one's ever done this before, and it's crazy. I thought it was crazy. And I stood up to the kid. I like John Jones. I think he's a great champion. I think he's a great guy. I've hung out with him in Vegas, and I really took a liking to the kid because I think he's the next best great thing. And all of a sudden I heard an interview from him of saying people need to stop comparing me to Tito Ortiz because I don't talk about money. And I took a very heartfelt, that was like a stab in my back. I was like, I stood up for you. And when no one else did, I stood up for you. And you turn around and say something like that, you can understand. When you're driving around in your Bentley, or I don't know if he even has it anymore since he wrecked into a tree, but when you drive in your Bentley, you can understand I'm the person to put my life on the line and my career and my image and my name on the line to take everything I did to battle for your type of contracts you have, for the money that you're making. If it wasn't for the things that I've battled for and I took all the bad image because of it, you'd be driving around in a Toyota right now. And fighters need to understand and respect guys on my level that I took a lot of flack for, negotiating and battling for what I believed in. It wasn't a factor of talking about money. It was a factor for what I believe I was worth. And that's been my whole career because I was going out and I was doing the main press. I was going out and I was doing the reality shows and going and doing the wrestling stuff and always being the person outside the box of not just being a fighter. And I was believing what I was worth. And I was trying to raise the bar for all fighters. And I think I've done that. And for him to say the things he's saying that I'm not with Tito Ortiz because I don't talk about money, don't disrespect me like that, man. I've had your back when no one else did. And so that's all I said, and I was just disappointed. I was very, very disappointed with John. Maybe he is just young, maybe he is 22, 23 years old, and he doesn't know. Maybe the start is getting to his head. But like I said, I took a liking to John Jones, but I just was really very, very disappointed in the interview I read. And I mean, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
The truth is heard. Everything is heard. And, Dana said it the best himself. He's never had this happen from a fighter before where he pulled out of a fight. I never did in my career. I fought guys no matter what. And once again, it was about what I was worth. It wasn't about talking about money, because I didn't have a manager. I was the guy taking the flack for it. I mean, you look at guys like Roy Jones Jr., who sat in the dark for so long because he negotiated what he believed in, and that's what I did. And that's what it was truly about.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you for clarifying that for us, Tito. And last question I'll ask you, obviously, with the management career going in full swing, obviously you're going to be busy with that, but Punishment Athletics has not slowed down. I know they are still sponsoring and working with a lot of fighters. Are you still very active in Punishment right now?
Yes, I am. We actually just got done with the Magic Show in Las Vegas. We did actually really well. This MMA world's just getting so big. You know, I got to thank Lorenzo and Dana for making this happen for us companies being able to excel the way we have, you know, and being able to sponsor fighters. We're actually sponsoring Jimmy Hedis in UFC 152, and he's a great fighter. He understands the promotion side of it, and that's what it's truly about, is promoting as much as possible. And I was able to build my brand the right way, I think, and doing the right legwork to make it happen. And we're going to keep coming out with great gear, and I just can't wait to be able to excel and have fighters wear it, of course, but at the same time, put money in their pocket, and that's what it's truly about.
Definitely. Tito, it's always a pleasure to catch up. Obviously, we're going to talk many times because as your management group, Primetime 360, continues to grow, obviously we're going to be talking a lot more about the fighters on your roster, but I'm excited to see what you have coming near. Obviously, TitoOrtiz.com is the website. Anything else that people can find? I know you got a million websites, your Punishment Athletics. Anywhere else people can check you out?
Of course, Punishment.com. Of course, follow me on my Twitter at Tito Ortiz, and just look what's going to be coming up before the year's over. We got some big things coming, and the first of the year will really be taking over the world, I think, of MMA. I'm going to give the fighters what they always wanted, and you know, just a manager who's going to work hard for them. And I think I've worked really hard over the last 15 years of my career, and I made bad choices. I made some great choices. So I think I can make all the great choices and the right decisions for the fighters of the future. Not only just get the great fighters, but the greatest fighters of the next generation.
Definitely, definitely. Well, Tito, it's always a pleasure. Thank you seriously for the time, and I'm sure we'll talk again in a couple months because obviously things are not going to ever slow down for you.
Of course not, man. Like I say, I appreciate all my fans who've supported me in it throughout, thick and thin, wins and losses. But it's time to start a different career of something I really put my heart and soul into.
And you can continue to use all the suits, man, because you'll be dressing up for all the fights and everything. You got quite a suit collection to work on.
Yeah, no, I do got a big suit collection, so it's okay so far. Until next year, we'll see.
You're ready to roll right into that management role, right?
Exactly.
Tito, thank you.
That's what it's always been about, man. Is like I say, fighting for the fighters.
Definitely, Tito. Thank you as always, seriously, and I'm sure we'll catch up again real soon.
Awesome, man. Thank you much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.